Christmas in Connecticut was a fun little romantic comedy from 1945 starring Barbara Stanwyck and Dennis Morgan. I really like this film, and to be honest, I can say with some certainty I have never watched a Hallmark movie before. So this type of film is probably the closest thing that I can imagine a Hallmark movie is like. I don't mean that in a bad way though, because this was a really sweet film. The story here is basically that Barbara Stanwyck plays newspaper writer Elizabeth Lane. And I wonder if that name was maybe a take on Lois Lane a little bit, as she is this vibrant, outspoken newspaper writer. But I don't know. In any case, she has been crafting this fiction for years that she is writing from the perspective of being a perfect housewife living out in the country, making country foods by the fireside and so on. But the truth is, she's just this single woman living in New York City. She doesn't even have any cooking skills. This is just a big fabrication that she has been writing. In fact, her recipes are all coming from her friend Felix, who's played here by S.Z. Sakall from Casablanca, which is really cool. Hey, any connection to Casablanca instantly makes the film even better for me. Dennis Morgan plays Jefferson Jones. He's this war hero who has just come back from serving in the war, and he wants to go and visit Miss Lane's farm. And her editor, Yardley, who's played here by Sidney Greenstreet, also of Casablanca fame. He was the big guy that ran the rival club opposite of Rick's place. Well, anyhow, he's all for this idea of this war hero going off to visit this farm. So now Miss Lane is in a pickle. What is she going to do? Because there is no actual farm anywhere. It's all a big fiction. Well, it turns out that architect John Sloan, who's played here by Reginald Gardiner, he's been romantically interested in Elizabeth for a long time, and he has this proposition, basically, that she should marry him at his farm that he happens to have in Connecticut, and that she can bring along Felix to help complete this big farce. And by doing this, he gets to marry her, and she gets to use the farm as the setting to kind of complete this big deception and then not lose her job at the paper. She can still have the army guy come out and stay. She goes along with this idea, but you can tell that she's not really all that interested in Sloan. But in any case, she gets the country house all set up. It looks just like she writes about in her newspaper, including even incorporating a neighbor's baby that they pretend is their own child. So soon enough, Dennis Morgan shows up as Jefferson Jones, the war hero, and he sees everything going on in this little country house in Connecticut, and he just buys everything that's going on. But alas, as you would predict, both he and Elizabeth start to fall in love. And it is a cute love story at the core of all of this silliness. In fact, there's moments where we see that she has this complete inability to even bathe a baby. And, a note, Stanwyck's character here is very sharp and intelligent, but she is primarily this writer living in New York City. And the gag is that she doesn't even know the basics of, bathing her own baby, And complications like this continue to arise and compound throughout the film, as you would expect in a wacky romantic comedy. But at the core, there is a sweet love story. And when Jones and Lane take that snowy carriage ride together, well, that was sweet and touching, and it's really neat to see how the romance develops. I won't ruin it for you. Go and check it out. I think it's on Prime. It was a fine romantic comedy, not too heady, but just silly fun. And honestly, everything I see Barbara Stanwyck in, it's always amazing. And some closing thoughts. Again, it's neat to see some of the Casablanca characters here, like Sidney Greenstreet. And he's normally kind of the bad guy, like the big guy from Casablanca. But here he's more of a silly, humorous role. And S.Z. Sakall as Felix the cook was a hoot. I love some of his dialogue. Everything is hunky-dunky, And it was also noteworthy to see actress Una O'Connor briefly as Nora. Now, she was like one of the maids there. I've seen her in a bunch of the old Universal monster movies. She's usually the lady who goes all crazy screaming that there's a monster on the move. So it's fun to see her here. And of course, Barbara Stanwyck and Dennis Morgan do a wonderful job in the leads. It's a sweet story. and it's a lot of fun. It's worth checking out Christmas time or whenever. This was a good movie.